What is going on, everyone? It is Foul Play here, and today I'm here to bring you something a little bit different to normal. So I'm going to attempt playing Bogles in Legacy here. So obviously Legacy is a higher power format than what Modern is. And Bogles traditionally wouldn't be seen as a deck that is well positioned there. But Legacy is also suffering from similar problems to what Modern is, with like the Valki decks just going crazy. In addition, it also has things like Oko, and I can't remember if Arkham's Astrolabe ever got banned or not, but there's potentially an issue with those decks as well. Now, upgrades that we get from a Bogle perspective that we would not have in Modern. We get access to the dual lands, so we've got the Tundra instead of Hallowed Fountain, Tropical Island instead of Breeding Pool, and Savannah instead of Temple Garden. In addition to that, Once Upon a Time is legal in Legacy, where it is not in Modern, so that's a pretty big upgrade. We also get Force of Will, upgrading Force of Negation. So like with this list here, I've got slightly fewer auras than what I do in my Modern deck, but I kind of expect a few more counter magic wars. So I figure having both Force of Will and Force of Negation is probably a pretty good place to be. In addition, we want to keep our usual number of First Strike. We probably want Flying here in Legacy. It seems like an important stat to me, although maybe like a couple of Staggering Insights might not be the worst thing for that unblockable, right? Over on the sideboard, we've got access to Pithing Needle. I've got Soul Guide Lantern on here, but that was added as graveyard hate for before I realized that Luris was banned in Legacy, actually. So we might just go for the standard Rest in Peace here. It seems like probably the safest option here. We could also go for Relic, but I don't think Soul Guide Lantern's really where we want to be. Let's just go for the powerful effect of Relic. Additionally, I did see a video the other day, and the most played, I think it was a BNR announcement, the most played Legacy card is actually Tarmogoyf at the moment, so I guess Rest in Peace is probably well positioned there as well. We've got the other two Force of Negations here on the sideboard. We've also got Force of Vigor over here for Artifact and Enchantment decks, and Leyline of Sanctity for discard decks. Now, aura-wise, for those of you that are not familiar with Bogles, obviously we've got Ethereal Armor, 1/1 for each enchantment you control, First Strike. Higher number is 1/1 at First Strike and Totem Armor. Arcane Flight is 1/1 flying. Curious Obsession is 1/1. Dealing combat damage to a player gives you a trigger where you may draw a card. If you don't attack with a creature that turn, though, it will fall off, so it does have a pretty significant downside. We have got the Daybreak Coronet as well, and the Staggering Insight as well. So Daybreak Coronet, 3/3 Vigilance Lifelink, and Staggering Insight, 1/1 Lifelink. Draw a card when you deal damage to a player. Alright, so with that all out the way, let's go ahead and get into a league. Alright, so here we are for match number 1 versus White Taser or Tassar. We did win the die roll, so that's a good plus. Hand looks very capable, so I'm going to go ahead and do so. Alright. Also, just doing this because I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Modern metagame over the next couple of days. Doing Legacy instead. I might just do this so that I make it like a Legacy over 2 or 3 days. Now mostly here I think leading with the Savannah is fine. Obviously, if we draw like a Curious Obsession off the top, we wouldn't be able to cast double blue card, but we can't anyway. And we wouldn't want to cast like double blue card because Ethereal Armor is better than Arcane Flight. But yeah, access to only 1 blue source here, so something to consider there. Looks like my opponent's gonna try and combo off into something here. They're ditching Spirit Guide, 2 Spirit Guides here. So I guess they're just going to go for the Valki, and we can counter the Tibalt. Alright, so good old Secret Interaction or Force of Will here. Opponent force of will's my force of will. All right, well, that's something that happens a little bit less in modern, but I suppose can be expected to happen here. Opponent will get the plus and will get the exile here. He gets an Ardent Plea and a Horizon Canopy. We draw Ethereal Armor here. All right, so let's go ahead and throw down this Curious Obsession, and then we can throw down our Ethereal Armor and attack our opponent. There's an option to attack Valki, but we're not going to draw a card if we do that, and we're sort of playing into our opponent's game plan. Bogles typically plays pretty well into this Tibalt. Sorry, not Valki, Tibalt. Bogles traditionally plays pretty well into Tibalt, mostly because it attacks exiles, artifacts, or creatures. They can't target our creatures, they can't target our enchantments, so generally speaking, we're in an okay spot against them. So they hit a Horizon Canopy and a City of Brass off that Tibalt plus. 3 cards left in their hand. They're starting to get low on resources, I suppose. City of Brass came from their exile, and that's all they did for that turn. Alright, well, we'll throw down this Ethereal Armor on our Bogle using Plains. That does resolve, so we now get to attack for 8, and we'll just go after our opponent here. Seems to be a stop on our attack step for some reason. I'm not sure what they can go for here. I do know that this list, because I did see an article on it today by Channel Fireball, and it's running 4 Okos, but like pretty much it's just the 3 Valkyries and the 4 Okos, and that's pretty much all it's got going. Alright, so us playing out that Plains earlier on means we can't play out this Horizon Canopy. We have got the Scout down, so if we do need to attack with 2 creatures, maybe through a Chump Blocker, we'll be able to. On the plus side, our opponent's just bricked on creatures this whole time. I suppose there's not that many creatures here, to be fair. Our opponent could, yeah, I guess play a Shardless Agent though. He's casting an Ardent Plea, so I guess he's going for a second Tibalt. Maybe he'll just actually play the Valki as a blocker. Alright, so he does cast the Valki side. Sees my Horizon Canopy, doesn't get any value there. We find Staggering Insight off the top. So here I like cycling the Canopy, because if we draw like Arcane Flight, we can attack for the win. That's still pretty good. We can have Force of Will up now in case our opponent does anything too sinister. Yeah, look, I think most of the time we're just going to be okay casting this Staggering Insight onto the Scout, attacking them with both creatures. We could try and get tricky and hold up Force of Will, or we could just go for the value. We can potentially draw a blue card anyway. We find a Plains that time. Okay. Well, opponent's on 2. He now needs to somehow block 2 creatures, not just 1. And yeah, should be some good metagame eating Bogles right now. Opponent with the plus finds Once Upon a Time, finds Mana Confluence. They could potentially cast the Once Upon a Time, and then they're going to need to find some more mana. All right, they just concede. So first game, first match went mostly okay. I think these Force of Negations are a pretty strong card to board in here. And maybe we might want to look at boarding out some effects. I'm not sure how many board wipes this deck runs in Legacy. I think it's probably less than the others. We might be able to trim on Hyena Umbras, but then that also make it hard to attack into our opponent. Excuse me. Maybe if we trim on a Once Upon a Time and either a Staggering Insight or a Daybreak Coronet, that's probably for the best. I might just trim one Hyena Umbra. I guess if we're like fighting these huge counterspell wars, with like a whole card disadvantage thing. Having high hitting aura or hard hitting auras like Daybreak is probably going to be quite important to us. All right, so we've got our one land which in our deck which can't cast any creatures and no enchantments, triple creatures. So this is a mulligan. I like the counter spells, but yeah, that's definitely a mulligan there. All right, so this hand's going to be a keep. Force of Negation is currently offline. And we have Once Upon a Time to help us find a creature, but we don't have a guaranteed creature. All right, well, ditch your Once Upon a Time. We get the old Moto bug and get one on the top of our library as well. All right, let's go for this Once Upon a Time. I doubt they're going to counter it. Okay, so it does resolve. We find a scout, so that's a big plus. I actually got Tropical Island there. I did mean to get the Savannah. So opponent has countered that one. We do have a second Once Upon a Time in hand now, though, so we can go ahead and find our other creature. But land-wise, we are turned off of double white, right? All right, we find a Force of Will this time. Yeah, but casting our enchantments is potentially going to be an issue here, right? So double blue is probably going to be more important here than double green in this game. I guess I can do this like end step. We find a nice old blank there. That's unlucky. All right. So over to our opponent. Opponent is missing cards as well. Let's cycle this canopy, see if we find a creature. Okay, we do find our creature. Let's play that Bogle on out. What do they exile with the Force of Negation, Mystical Dispute? All right, so I will Force of Will this. I have a feeling like my opponent's just missing one land piece from like cascading into their Tibalt. All right, let's lead on to like some bad auras. He seems to have had a few counter spells here. I'm going to see if he's got another Mystical Dispute by playing the Arcane Flight here. Okay, so it doesn't look like he's got another Mystical Dispute. We do miss like a potential draw by not just jamming the Curious there. Maybe it's better to be aggressive. It looks like he's going for the Cascade now. He's hit his Gemstones, so there's his Shardless Agent. We do actually have flying, so we can attack through. So he just goes for the Tibalt. He goes for the Exile on the Tibalt. Finding Mana Confluence and Mystical Disputes. So he's not got any mana right now. Let's get down both these Curious Obsessions while we can. We can attack in for 5. We can draw 2 cards. And, you know, I'm not interested in, like, fighting this Valki. I'm just interested in racing it, right? I have a feeling, like, fighting or Valki or Tibalt is going to be wrong most of the time, right? All right, so he finds Violent Outburst and Staggering Insight. So he can actually put an enchantment, Staggering Insight, on his Shardless Agent, attack, gain some life. Might not be the worst idea because he can't actually block my creature that has flying. So he is going to gain 3 life. We find Force of Negation. All right, so we should be able to just cast Ethereal Armor here. Ardent Plea, Force of Negation. All right, so that gets countered. If we cast Arcane Flight, it's just going to get countered by this Mystical Dispute here. So we're best off just attacking for 5. And then we can maybe hold up this Force of Negation for during our opponent's turn. We have actually found Force of Will and and we can now cast Once Upon a Time as well. After finding that Plains. So opponents actually got the lifelink here, so they're like slightly winning the race. That Ethereal Armor was countered by Force of Negation, so it can't be played. Opponent opts to go get our Mana Confluence there. They can still get an Oko here from their own graveyard. I suppose Elvish Spirit Guide's not a very good blocker. And Staggering Insight giving our opponent even more value than they already have from this silly Planeswalker here. If we can find a heavy hitting aura like Ethereal Armor or Daybreak Coroner, and if we can resolve that aura, that'll go a very, very long way to helping us win this match. If not, I don't know. We're sort of like falling one card behind our opponent each turn because they get a card draw from Staggering Insight and 2 card draws from Tibalt, essentially. Opponent playing the Valki God of Lies, so this only gets creatures, right? Okay, sure. So opponent's going to have pretty much perfect information here. He's not going to hit any of the cards in our hand. But he's going to have good information there. We're in his end step. Alright, so now we can fire off this Once Upon a Time. I don't think it's going to find us anything too much that we'll want. We'll just take the Slippery Bogle because it's a blue card to pitch to the Force of Will. We now find Tundra. Well, we are in the position where we can fight a little bit of a counterspell war. Our Slippery Bogle can also block the Shardless Agent and stop the card draw. And it's important to note that we're sort of netting 2 damage a turn on our opponent. He doesn't want this to resolve. I don't actually think this is that much of an important spell. If we resolve this, he's netting 2 damage on us. He's going to take 4 turns to kill us. We're going to attack him down by 1, essentially. We'll attack him down to 4. He'll go back up to 8 or 7, sorry. I honestly think this is okay. Points where it might not be the best is if he's got like a Brazen Borrower to bounce my Arcane Flight. That only buys him 1 turn. I think I'm okay with this. Alright, so a couple of decent draws there. I think we want to play out our Bogle now. Has he got Mystical Dispute? He's got Mystical Dispute. Okay. So he cast that from Exile, I believe. We'll just let that resolve. And then we'll try and resolve this Curious Obsession on the Bogle. So now we're 1 point of damage off killing our opponent. And their lands are starting to be taxing because this Gemstone Mine's on 1. He's got 2 Mana Confluences out. He's got no other way to generate mana outside of these Mana Confluences. I think we're in mostly a pretty strong spot here. I guess we could also note that the way I sequence my auras by slow rolling the Ethereal Armor, it's... opponent's going to get some stuff from the graveyard here. He's going to get access to some of our creatures and all of their counter magic there. But yeah, we could have had Ethereal Armor down if we sequenced our auras sort of in reverse. And they might not have had the counterspell back up. Opponent has like a crazy big hand here. So he's going to go for Oko. He can get a food token here. I don't think Oko really accomplishes that much for him this turn. I guess the food token he can use to gain life. If we counter this, he will counter it as well. I I guess we just go for it. Force the issue for now. He had another mystical dispute. Damn. Oh, I guess that might have been exiled from the graveyard. All right, so that resolves. Opponent gets the gemstone mine back. Interestingly enough, our mana confluences were kind of good because giving him that instead of like a tropical, like a dual land was slightly beneficial for us. So opponent can attack for 4 and gain 4. Attack for 6 and gain 4. Alright, what do we find off the top? Opponent conceded the game. Okay, maybe he missed that he had lifelink or something there because he goes up to 8 and he's not dead yet. We would have drawn Slippery Bogle. That's weird. I'm not sure why he conceded that one, but I guess we'll take the win. Alright, so here we are for match number 2, and we are versing LOL for reals. We lost to Daryl. Our hand is definitely a good hand from Bogle standards. It doesn't have any interaction though. I think we're still going to keep though. Obviously it would be a little bit soft to our opponent going super hard with okay, opponent looks like he's on Merfolk. Lotus Petal and Urza's Bobble. Maybe they're just on oh god, this can't be good. Okay, well I'm not sure what they're on now. They've milled Chalice, Urza, and we've got a nice juicy handful of 1 mana cards, and I have a feeling like we're about to get Chalice of the Void out of the game by this Emery here. We can still cast Staggering Insight, but then we're going to be in a bit of trouble after that. We also don't have any counter magic. Mox Opal. Wow, whatever this is really gross right now. Yeah, it comes the Chalice on 1. Excellent. Perfect. Yep. Anything else from our opponent? All right. Well, all these 1 mana enchantments are looking pretty woeful right now. Let's just get in for 2, draw a card. Maybe we can find our Daybreak Coronet and some white mana, and maybe then we have a shot. Alright, we've found the white mana. Let's see if we can find that Daybreak. We're also like extremely soft to Blast Zone here. My guess as to why Cabin is naming Wizard or Merfolk, sorry, is because there's that 3 mana Hull Breach Wizard or whatever it's called that generates tokens in replacement for your opponent drawing extra cards. So Hull Breach is probably going to be pretty good here against the Staggering Insight. My opponent getting Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright, they're doing Narset. Yeah, sure. Alright. Yep. Well, we got a nice Staggering Insight here. Our opponent's got a pretty big hand. Staggering Insight was actually a pretty good draw for us. It sucks that we lost our white mana though. In the form of whatever the hell that was called. Did our opponent take our cards, or did they get shuffled back into our library maybe? Not super familiar with Lion's Eye Diamond. Opponent finds Khan the Great Creator. That is disgusting. I have like supreme hatred for this Khan card, and looks like my opponent's going to be able to tutor into Ensnaring Bridge and then like Microsync Lattice or something. Alright, well that card's not the end of the world, but now he gets all these Thopter tokens. I think we're officially pretty dead here. We're gonna like wait to see how much he puts onto the board from this state. But yeah. We'll just see like what the high roll for his turn is. Seems pretty bad for us though. All right, well we can't cast that one. I think we just concede. Not really that much more value from playing this one out. All right, well, I mean, counterspells like Force Negation are probably pretty good here, because their opponent's playing things like Chalice of the Void. I think we can expect Engineered Explosives to come into play as well. So removing these Force of Vigors is probably a good thing for us. There's potential for Pithing Needle to be good too, but this might be to the stage of overboarding. Honestly, there's like not that much that I want to cut. I really like the idea of having flying, but his tokens sort of destroy any point of me having flying here. So I guess that's going to have to come out. We're sort of like going light on blue cards at this point as well. I think we can maybe trim a Once Upon a Time. And then we need to decide whether or not we want Pithing Needle or Force of Negation. I guess we can just go one Pithing Needle. Yeah, this feels bad, honestly. I guess we'll see what happens this game. Alright, so here we have a hand. We can't cast any of our blue cards, any of our enchantments at all. We do have Force of Negation interaction, Force of Vigor interaction. I think this is maybe slightly too much interaction. If I had blue mana, I would probably keep it, but we need to throw this one. Alright, this hand's looking a little bit better. I think we go ahead and keep. And the obvious bottom is Once Upon a Time. Yeah, so I think we go ahead and do that. Force of Vigor's not going to have any like target here at this point. But you know, that's just too bad, so sad, really. Let's be real. All right, so we want to get our Tundra here. We're not going to be able to cast green cards, but I mean, our only green cards in the deck are creatures, so that should be okay. Well, our opponent just, yeah, okay, well, that just happened. Now if we draw, I guess we ditch the Force of Will, lead on Once Upon a Time, and don't just get completely destroyed here. Now we don't have green mana. If we draw Glade Cover Scout, we're screwed. All right. So I think we misplayed this one a little bit, I guess. I'm not used to having creatures get countered because I'm used to Force of Negation, not Force of Will. But obviously what they did there was very strong. All right, cool. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and concede. I don't see a point in playing this one out at this point. I've already stuffed the match up slightly too much. All right, let's get into the next one. All right, so here we are for match number 3, and we won the die roll. We're versing Private Enormous, and we got potentially a 1-lander here. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this one. Once Upon a Time can go ahead and find us a land, and then we've got our other interaction that we can go for. All right, so we can just find Tundra straight up here. I think the play here is probably get Tropical Island, play the Glade Cover Scout, and then we'll be at a point where we have Slippery Bogle to pitch to Force of Negation. We can Curious Obsession and advance our board. All right, Mana Confluence is a good draw there. Let's go ahead and Ethereal Armor. That one resolves. All right, I guess we Curious Obsession. That also resolves, so we get nice attacks here. And we get to draw cards. All right, well, our opponent didn't have interaction, which I suppose is good. We find a second Staggering Insight. First strike, menace, trample, and partner. Okay. Alright, I feel like I'm missing something here, but... what can we do? We can just attack as is, then play Bogle Hyena Umbra, and that gives us a little bit of assurance. If our opponent wants to like double block, then if they're going to be putting up blockers, I think that's probably our best line. Like, we miss a little bit of life gain. I think it's worthwhile though. Okay, so they actually do block there. Let's go ahead and play out our Bogle. Alright. So I guess we potentially missed 1 point of damage by doing that at that speed. Glimpse of Nature, I'm pretty sure, is just something we do want to counter. Seems like a pretty powerful card for a deck with 0 drops. Alright, well, we find a Force of Negation there, so we can play the Staggering Insight. We'll play it on the other Bogle, so either way we get to draw a card no matter how he blocks. Get our land out for the turn. Alright, well, here's Glimpse of Nature. If we drew a blue card, we could have potentially have stopped it. So now he's just going to fire off a million 0-mana creatures, and we might get Tendrils of Aghanim or something. I guess we'll see how many 0 drops he's got. This seems like the sort of matchup where having Damping Sphere would be good. So he did reveal 7 cards. Oh goodness, Back Call, Goblin Bushwhacker. I'd like to say I follow what's going on, but I really don't. I have a feeling like we're just gonna get Tendril of Aghanim to death. So like maybe something like Flusterstorm would be good in a matchup like this. Alright, I'm just going to pause the video while he does what he does. Opponent is exiling some Elvish Spirit Guides, playing Wild Cantador. And continuing. Alright, we are now being grape-shotted to death, so that's going to be the game. Cool. Alright, so it is a Storm deck. We were like sort of close to doing stuff there. We haven't got anything insanely good here. If we stop the Glimpse of Nature, we should be fine though, right? Does Tendrils of Aghanim target the player or not? Leyline of Sanctity could be a real card to board in here. Alright, so Leyline of Sanctity will stop Tendrils of Aghanim. The only problem being they might bring in some enchantment destructions, so I'm not sure it's what we want to be going for here. I feel like we can remove a Once Upon a Time pretty safely, and then just Hyena Umbra maybe. Yeah, let's go with that. I think Leyline of Sanctity is an overboard. We just want to battle the Glimpse of Nature, in my opinion. Alright, so here we are with this no creature hand, so we're gonna mulligan. And mulligan. Opponent keeping A7. Alright, well this looks like a keep to me, so we'll go ahead and do that. Ditch Daybreak, Staggering. Done. Maybe we want to like leave double Staggering and ditch the Ethereal Armor. Yeah, I think we want to leave double Staggering and ditch the Ethereal Armor. All right, opponent's going for it here. He's had a couple of Noxious Revivals, Rookthar, Ornithopter, and Glimpse in hand. So he's going to Glimpse of Nature, play his 2 creature, or play a creature, Noxious Revival, play creature, Noxious Revival. Oh, did he double sack the Glimpse of Nature? I guess that makes sense, yeah. So now he's got double Glimpse of Nature. And... like he draws 2 cards from doing this, but I think there is a point where he fizzles. He's found Memnite. I don't think he has a way to sack his board state. Although it seems like he's Yu-Gi-Oh'd off pretty successfully here. These creatures do have legendaries, so that's actually a pretty interesting sack outlet. So he can then Noxus Revival, find another one. I think we've been well and truly bested here. All right, so not a bad turn 1 for our opponent. I think we were mostly right about countering the Glimpse and winning the game. Having seen another grape shot here, though, Leyline of Sanctity also would have been very good against them. There's potentially a world where we lose after they Leyline. Obviously, they can have a destroy effect for it. All right, so that's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you want to see more Legacy content, I'll be back tomorrow for matches 2 and 3 and maybe a wrap up afterwards. Please let me know what you think down below. I think the deck has like a little bit of promise. Maybe I could have played a bit tighter in round 2, tuned the sideboard a little bit better, things like that. But thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next time. Cheers.